After some months waiting for parts, I finally am back in the build, and in today's video I will be installing my new subframe. So this subframe, or this entire kit, I've been waiting since I want to say I think October. It took a long time for me to get, and I'll tell you why as I break this down. So the first thing I'm going to talk about for like the whole subframe is the oil pan. Now this is from Nikon Rotary, and I used to have the excessive oil pan, which was a lot larger in depth for like oil capacity, but because of that I was not able to actually mount that into my engine bay properly without that being the lowest point. So you know, if I'm driving and I hit a bump and that's the first thing that they'll get hit, so you don't want that to happen. So I ended up getting this, and this is a lot smaller in depth wise than the excessive oil pan, and what I lose in capacity I actually gain like in a very low profile setup with a baffle system. The excessive oil pan does not have any baffling in there, so definitely really happy about this. Thank you Nikon for helping me out with that, because I didn't want to go OEM and I had trouble finding another type of oil pan. Next up is these engine mounts. So this is what took me so long to make another video, because I had to wait for months. I think the last video I made, that's when I had to stop because I could not get these, and I thought I was the only one. I thought like Reuters was like the only one having problems just getting parts. Turns out it's everybody. One thing, if anybody is interested in getting this along with that oil pan, is that the Elite Rotary engine mount does not bolt up properly to the Nikon Rotary oil pan, and this is mainly used for like RX-8. So if you have an RX-7, this probably won't apply to you because you wouldn't use this oil pan. But I do have to do some trimming on both mounts to get this to fit. Also, forgot to mention, comes with two mounts as well. Next is the first piece of the subframe. Now both of these pieces I'm going to show you are actually just a placeholder. Taking the car to the place that made this so they can actually make a proper subframe. This is just going to be a placeholder. But this bolts up to the engine mount. Actually, two pieces on. So this, like I said, this bolts up to the engine mount. This bolts up to the subframe itself. Now both sides of these actually bolts up to the OEM mount. Original F20 used to bolt that, but underneath. So, and the reason why I did it underneath is because I wasn't able to put this up on top and put like an exhaust manifold and stuff like that. It'll get in the way. So this is a two-piece design, plus with the oil pan and the engine mount. I'm inside right now because it's pretty cold outside, but pretty sure I'm actually gonna go outside and actually install this stuff. So I'm at the garage right now. It's freaking cold outside, but luckily like the sun's out, so it's not that bad. One thing I noticed, my garage does not have the best ceiling in terms of like water. So like my entire, not my entire, but a good chunk of it, the chunk of my floor is ice. So I literally had to grab a hammer and just start breaking the ice loose just to open up the door because it would not open. But let me get started on this because I don't want to stay out in the cold too long. First thing I want to do is install the oil pan partially. I'm not going to put all the bolts around. We need maybe like 3 to 4 on each side, because this is going to be taken down anyway, because one, I forgot my pickup tube, and two, where the OMP meter will be at, or the sensor will be at, I'm actually going to get that welded shut because I don't need that. I got some other sensor that's going to monitor the oil system. Okay, so the oil pan is on. Maybe about 6 or 8 bolts are in there. And next up is the engine mount. I've been doing this for maybe like 5 minutes, and I'm kind of feeling the cold a little bit. I kind of wish I had some better gloves than these, because these are like cut gloves, and 3 is not protected, but it's cool. Like you can see, both mounts are on. Now I have to put on the first piece of that subframe part, which is going to be that one long piece that bolts to the engine mount. Put the bushings on as well. Oil pan is on, engine mounts are on, the first bracket is on. Now, the hardest part is getting the last bracket on because I kind of have to, I mean, it's not that heavy, but kind of like a balancing act. I have to like stretch from this mount to the other mount underneath. So we're trying to figure that out. Hopefully it shouldn't be that bad because the one I made out of wood, it was pretty bad. So the one thing I need to do, I need to add spacers on both sides for the 4 holes because as it sits, the engine is way too high and I need to bring it down just a little bit, just like maybe an inch lower, and that's what these spacers that I got is going to do for me. Alright, battery died on me, but that's it. That's both of those subframe bits installed. That one's kind of crooked. I gotta put 2 more bolts in. I lines up each slot between both of those plates, and then after that, it'll be the moment of truth. Taking the jack off and see what happens. Okay, so those bolts are in. Now it's time for the moment of truth, and that is taking off this jack stand and seeing if this bracket can't support itself. I am done with mounting this subframe up together. Good thing, because I'm getting kind of cold, but I mean, look at it. Got some extra space. Done. This is not going to move anywhere. Doesn't need a jack stand anymore. I mean, you get a little bit of movement like this, but like I said, it's just a placeholder. I mean, before I didn't have that much space on this side, but look at it now. Like, I got more space on this side now. Like, that's a lot of space to work with. I do lose a little bit of this, which I'm going to have to deal with somehow because my alternator is going to be right here. So I gotta figure out how that's going to work. But yeah, man, this is solid-ish, as much as it can be. My main thing is that this plate might kind of like fold in a little bit, but that's fine because I'm not going to be driving the car with these plates. And that's good. Look at this. There's nothing holding the engine and the transmission on besides the brackets itself. Remember, I used to have a jack stand right here holding onto the belt housing. Not anymore. So that's it. That's the end of the video. I'm just happy that this is done. I'm cold, but I'm happy at the same time. In our next video, I'm gonna start working on actually like getting this engine done. I have a lot of parts that I've been hoarding for the past couple months, and I couldn't do anything because I didn't know how the engine was going to be placed. At least with this, I can go about maybe 2 to 3 inches worth of play on around everything. So it's not gonna be that bad, but I'm gonna be back to this build. Hopefully, I should be driving this thing sometime in this summer. This summer. Crossing fingers for it though.